what if I told you that building a successful, profitable business?
And not just profitable, but one that gives you complete freedom.
Exactly. Financial and, geographic freedom. What if that didn't require a massive loan or chasing venture capital or just accumulating mountains of debt?
Well, that is the core and I'd say revolutionary thesis of the sources we are immersing ourselves in today. And this isn't just theory, right? It's a blueprint.
A blueprint.
We're deep diving into the evidence that's been compiled from hundreds of these successful, what you might call micro businesses. They were founded by what the research calls unexpected entrepreneurs.
I like that term. Unexpected entrepreneurship.
Do too, because these are just ordinary people. They're not MBAs from Stanford. They are people who are fundamentally rewriting the rules of work simply by combining their personal passion with, well, what other people actually want.
A tangible, articulated market demand.
Exactly.
So our mission today is to extract the most critical, the most actionable insights from this really comprehensive research. We're talking about surveys of thousands of businesses, 100 in-depth interviews.
It's a huge data set.
It is. And we're focused on identifying the exact mechanics. How do you get to freedom and value through these ultra-low-cost startups? And I think we have to start by confronting the most unbelievable data point right at the top.
Oh, I know which one you mean.
The median startup cost among all these successful businesses was just $125.
That number is, I think, deliberately confrontational. It has to be.
How so?
Because it instantly shifts the entire conversation away from capital acquisition, which is, normally the first and biggest hurdle for any new business. It redirects everything toward value creation instead.
Okay, that makes sense.
The driving force for these individuals, it wasn't primarily profit. I mean, profit is the inevitable result, of course. But the real driver was the pursuit of something more profound, something the author calls the freedom compass.
The freedom compass. I love that framing. It implies a goal that's, way beyond just chasing quarterly reports or satisfying a board of investors. But hang on.
Go on.
Let me pause on that $125 median cost for a moment, because you have to challenge that a bit.
Okay.
$125, it covers a domain name, maybe a month of cheap hosting, and that's about it. Are we just glossing over initial equipment costs, or maybe months of unpaid labor that really should factor into the true cost?
That's a crucial question, and it's one the research methodology explicitly addresses. So that $125 figure represents the actual cash outlay.
Just the cash.
The cash needed to launch the operation, to get that very first sale. It deliberately excludes the cost of your time or existing assets, like your personal laptop or your smartphone.
Okay, so the point is more psychological.
Exactly. It proves that the financial barrier to entry is so ridiculously low that any hesitation based on needing funding is, well, it's just a cover for fear. They focus on minimizing risk and maximizing the speed of execution.
So the goal is independence. It's about creating a life where your work is structured around you, not the other way around.
Yeah.
The author describes his own journey of building his career while traveling the world, and he calls it an addiction to freedom.
He does.
What were the trade-offs, though? What sacrifices are inherent in prioritizing that level of freedom?
Well, the primary trade-off is often what we think of as stability. Conventional security.
The steady paycheck.
Right. The author noted that this addiction to freedom often meant he had to prioritize non-traditional, often subscription-based income streams over a regular salary. And it meant accepting that work and life just blur together constantly.
Because you can work from anywhere.
You can work from anywhere at any time. It's not about escaping work. It's about making work fit the life you actually want to lead. For these unexpected entrepreneurs, the opportunity to choose their own course, and usually without years of training or needing financial backing, that's happening right now. The future of self-employment is now.
Okay, let's unpack this blueprint. I want to start with the assets they leveraged. If you don't need much money, what do you need? So part one is the entrepreneurial blueprint, and the journey begins by leveraging assets you already possess. This is what the source calls the Renaissance concept.
And this core idea is just so empowering, especially for you, the listener, if you're someone who thinks, oh, I need to go back to school or I need to acquire a totally new skill set.
Right.
The research shows success comes from applying skills you already possess. Even if, on the surface, they don't seem related to the new venture at all, it's about recognizing your inherent transferable strengths.
Let's look at the classic case study provided. Kat Alder. On paper, she goes from being a waitress to running a successful PR firm. But we really need to break down the mechanics of that skill transfer.
Absolutely. So Kat was a highly successful waitress in London. She was getting massive tips, just consistently.
Why, though? It wasn't just because she was friendly.
No, not at all. She was excellent at diagnosing customer needs. She could subtly persuade them toward premium menu items that she knew they would genuinely enjoy. She managed the whole dining experience, from the speed of service to their overall satisfaction.
So she was, in essence, a skilled diagnostician and persuader.
That's the perfect way to put it. She wasn't just a server.
So when she was later let go from a temporary job and someone just offhandedly suggests she try PR, she has this light bulb moment. She realized those core, transferable people skills were identical.
Exactly. It wasn't the food knowledge that mattered. It was her ability to read the room, to understand what people wanted before they even knew it themselves.
Which is the heart of good PR.
It is. Public relations isn't really about writing press releases. I mean, that's part of it. It's about understanding a journalist's needs, persuading them that your client's story is a perfect fit for their audience, and then managing those relationships, often under a lot of pressure.
And she figured out the technical side as she went.
She did. Within a month of deciding to make that leap, she landed her first PR client. She learned the specifics of the industry on the job, the hard part, the interpersonal dynamics. She'd already mastered that, recommending the daily special.
And the results speaks for itself. Within 4 years, her firm employed 5 people, operated in 4 international locations.
London, Berlin, New York, and China. It's incredible. She built a highly profitable, sustainable business by just applying the essential skills she learned recommending meals to a complex, professional context.
And that really is the power of this Renaissance concept.
It is. It's about looking at your own personal success stories. You know, the areas where you've excelled without trying too hard, and realizing the core mechanic of that success is the asset, not the environment where you happen to learn it.
That brings us perfectly to the next, and I would argue most crucial, concept in this blueprint, defining value. This is where so many businesses just fail. They focus on the product features, but the key is selling the benefit. The sources called this section, "Give them the fish."
This is the critical distinction. Businesses succeed by selling happiness, anticipation, and comprehensive solutions, not just products or a list of features. The customer wants the end result, right? The transformation, the aha moment.
And to drive this point home, the source uses the salmon risotto analogy.
Yes, the famous overeager chef who completely mistakes process for product.
Break it down for us.
Okay, so imagine you've had a difficult week, you're exhausted, and you go to a nice restaurant and order a delicious, complex salmon risotto.
Sounds good.
It does. But then the chef comes out, and instead of delivering the plate, he invites you into the busy, hot kitchen. He wants you to wash up, learn his special knife skills, and follow the complicated 2-hour process of making it yourself.
I'd be horrified. No one wants the kitchen tour when they're paying for a finished experience.
Exactly. You ordered the meal because you wanted the finished, delicious product. You didn't want the cognitive load of learning how to cook it.
Especially not when you're tired and hungry.
And businesses fail when they do the same thing. They overcomplicate the offering. They require the customer to invest way too much effort to get the desired result. The focus has to be on delivering that finished, delicious meal.
So who does this well?
Well, Jaden Hare, the founder of Steamy Kitchen, understands this perfectly. She doesn't just sell recipes, which are just instructions, right?
Right, the process.
She sells quality family time, enjoying delicious food. She simplifies the process so her customer can focus on the result, the joy of the meal.
And that emotional component is so key. The example of Megan Hunt, the dressmaker, is perfect. She makes dresses, but what she's really selling is the anticipation, the celebration, the memories of a perfect wedding day.
The product is just the vehicle for that emotional benefit.
It's the same with the V6 Ranch, isn't it?
Yeah.
It seems like a straightforward commodity trail rides. But they apply this rule too.
They do. They aren't selling transportation via horseback. They're selling the ability for their clients, who are typically high-stress people with desk jobs, to escape and be someone else, to be a rugged cowboy for a weekend.
The value is the emotional transformation.
Absolutely.
This realization was actually central to the author's own business pivot.
Yeah.
It's a fantastic before and after case study. He initially launched a product called Travel Ninja.
And it was pure overeager chef.
Oh, so.
It focused on teaching users the highly detailed, the nitty-gritty intricacies of how airlines operate, how frequent flyer miles are calculated, the complex rules of international bookings.
He was taking them into the kitchen.
He was showing them every single step of making the risotto. And the customers who bought in were often these highly specialized hobbyists, but the broader audience just felt completely overwhelmed by the technical depth.
Too much homework.
Far too much. So few people purchased because they saw all the details and thought, I just don't have time for this. They loved the idea of free travel, but they hated the necessary complexity.
So how did they pivot without changing the underlying product? I mean, the information was still the same.
They just reframed the offering completely. They created the travel hacking cartel with entirely different messaging. The new message was simply, don't worry about the details, just do what we say.
Ah, so they delivered the fish.
They delivered the fish. The cartel presented a streamlined 4-step action plan. It assured customers that the experts had already handled the 99 complex variables lurking beneath the surface. It wasn't about avoiding complexity. It was about managing the customer's cognitive load.
But I could see how don't worry about the details might risk patronizing your audience. How did they maintain trust while simplifying the message so much?
By selling confidence sold as simplicity, they demonstrated the results first. Their communication focused purely on the destination, the free plane ticket, the first-class upgrade,
The finished meal.
the finished meal. And that pivot resulted in over 3,000 customers joining. The technical expertise was still there, but the customer experience shifted entirely from here's your homework to follow these steps for a guaranteed outcome.
So if we put all these pieces together, your skills, your passion, and delivering this focused value, we arrive at the nexus of successful entrepreneurship. The sources call it the opportunity signpost.
Right. Opportunity is found at the intersection of 3 key components: what you're skilled at, your core assets, what you're passionate about, your fuel, and what the market actually wants or needs, the problem you solve.
And if you miss one of those components, the business suffers.
It does. Passion without skill is just a hobby. Skill without a market need is, a worthless invention sitting in your garage.
Let's examine 2 entrepreneurs who just perfectly nailed this intersection. First, Kelly Newsom, the Manhattan corporate escapee.
A great story. She was a high-achieving lawyer making $240,000 a year. This was her 6-year dream job. But her day-to-day was just checking Securities Act compliance filings over and over.
Fundamentally unfulfilling.
Totally. She had immense skill and security, but zero passion. It led to this deep sense of meaninglessness, so she abandoned that high-paying law job to take time off and pursue her lifelong passion, yoga.
And when she started her business, Higher Ground Yoga, she didn't just open a generic studio. She drilled down on a really specific niche.
And that niche was critical, wasn't it? She didn't just target general fitness seekers.
Not at all.
She targeted busy executive women, 30 to 45 years old. They were essentially versions of her former self. So she connected her passion, yoga, with her deep, intimate understanding of the executive mindset. That was her skill to a clear market need.
The need for stress relief and mental clarity for these high-powered women, she knew exactly how that daily grind felt, so she could speak their language better than any generic yoga instructor could.
Exactly. And even though her salary initially dropped, she built the business to over $50,000 and was quickly on track for more than $85,000 in net income. She found meaning. She said that as a lawyer, she realized the massage therapist next door was making people so happy, and she discovered her own path was in helping people feel good about themselves and manage that executive stress.
And then we have Purna Dujrawala in India, who proves that this intersection works across any industry, even in what seems like the absolute driest business imaginable.
Training people in Microsoft Excel. So Purna started a training business focused exclusively on Excel tips and tutorials, and his financial results were just phenomenal. Over $136,000 in net income in India, quickly on track for over $200,000.
But how? He did it by avoiding the features of Excel training.
Yes. He didn't sell pivot tables, he sold social status.
That's the perfect way to put it.
He positioned his product not around numbers or efficiency, but around the core benefit of recognition and appreciation. His training programs were designed to make the customer a hero in front of their bosses or colleagues.
So they weren't just paying to be more productive.
No, they were paying for the appreciation, the recognition, the sudden status boost that comes from simplifying a complicated process within their office. He found that passion-skill market intersection, and he proved that if you can make spreadsheets sexy, any business can find a powerful, profitable message.
Once that value proposition is rock solid, we move to the next phase, part 2, taking it to the streets. This is where we get to low-cost launches and the powerful strategy of pricing based on perceived value.
And the foundational philosophy here is all about speed and low-cost action. The source material is just adamant about this. Minimize the initial investment to reduce your risk and maximize the psychological payoff of that first sale.
And again, that median startup cost was only $125.
It always comes back to that.
This need for speed is captured perfectly in what they call the one-page business plan.
Right, which is the complete antithesis of that traditional 50-page document you'd need for a bank. This plan mandates simplicity and instant execution.
It dictates that plans must immediately degenerate into hard work.
I love that phrase. It focuses on two core actionable steps. 1, start today. 2, deposit money tomorrow. There is just no room for procrastination or overanalysis.
Jen Adrian and Omar Nouri, the map makers, provide a beautiful example of this action-first mentality. Walk us through their spontaneous launch.
Okay, so they were not aspiring entrepreneurs. They were artists who just wanted a custom map of their hometown, Columbus, Ohio, to hang in their living room.
Simple enough.
They designed it, but the print shop had a $500 minimum order. That meant they had to order 50 units. So they split the cost, $250 each. And they realized after they kept 2 for themselves, they had 48 extra maps just sitting in their living room.
So they were sitting on inventory completely by accident. Now, a lot of people would panic there, or they'd start drafting a huge strategic marketing plan. What do they do?
They chose speed. They didn't write a complex proposal. They designed a single, simple landing page in one evening, added a PayPal button, and went to bed.
And that was it.
That was it. They had a full-time business almost by accident, fueled by the immediate marketplace response the very next morning. It took zero planning beyond the initial design, and they instantly had positive cash flow, proving the demand before they even thought about scaling.
And that speed, it helps neutralize the biggest barrier to entry, which, as we said, is so often a cover for fear of failure, not a lack of capital.
That's the whole challenge of securing the first sale. It's often purely psychological. Nick Gatens, the photographer, he admitted he delayed launching his commercial photography website for months.
What was his excuse?
He blamed technical issues. I need to tweak the design, there's a code error, I need the perfect gallery function. But he eventually realized the real culprit was just crippling fear. It was, what if nobody likes my work?
It's so much easier to blame a bug than to face rejection.
Exactly. The moment he forced himself to make the site public, he got a $50 print sale almost immediately.
And that $50 is huge.
It's indispensable momentum. That single moment, that validation, no matter how small it validates the idea, it transforms the dream into a tangible reality, and it provides the psychological fuel you need to take the business seriously.
And the really smart entrepreneurs, they actually test that demand before they commit all the time and effort to create the entire product.
Yeah.
The anecdote of the $900 specialty guide is the ultimate proof of concept.
Oh, this is brilliant. So this entrepreneur, he wanted to create a highly specialized technical guide. He knew it would require months of intense writing and research.
A huge time commitment.
Massive. So instead of writing it first, he took out an ad in a niche magazine offering the guide for $900. The ad itself cost him $300. He received 2 orders.
Wow. So that's $1,800 in immediate cash.
Right. So he made $1,500 in profit before writing a single word. And, more importantly, he proved the demand exists.
So only then did he actually start writing it.
Correct. Only once demand was proven and paid for did he commit to the months of work. He contacted the 2 buyers to assure them he would deliver the new and improved version 2.0 in 30 days. He completely mitigated the risk of spending 6 months on a product that nobody wanted. This is the definition of low-cost action based on validation.
Okay, so once that demand is proven, you need to create the perfect offer. It has to be an offer you can't refuse, and the analogy they use is the orange slice at mile 18 of a marathon versus the donut.
Right. The orange slice is a compelling offer because it perfectly fits the context. It addresses an immediate, urgent physiological need in a high-pressure situation.
Whereas the Krispy Kreme donut, offered 2 miles later, is just ill-fitting. It's too much effort, too heavy, and it doesn't address that same desperate need.
Exactly. And this concept is critical when you're identifying and exploiting what's called a market inefficiency.
And market inefficiency, that's where a complicated system or some entrenched gatekeeper creates unnecessary friction, which then creates a space for an entrepreneur to provide a better, more compelling solution.
Let's break down the technical side of that. Think of Priceline. They didn't just offer lower prices on hotels, they exploited the inefficiency of hotel occupancy rates
Wow.
by allowing hotels to anonymously unload their surplus rooms at a steep discount, guaranteeing the customer savings of 40% or more without damaging the hotel's public brand price point.
So they bypassed the traditional public pricing system. They offered a solution to both the hotel's inventory problem and the consumer's cost problem.
Absolutely. And similarly, you have Redfin challenging the traditional real estate commission structure. Historically, agents kept this massive percentage of the sale simply for access to the MLS and facilitating the transaction.
They were the gatekeepers.
They were. Redfin offered a mechanism to split the buyer's agent commission with the home buyer. They instantly offered massive monetary value simply by removing an unnecessary gatekeeper and automating a lot of the paperwork. Spotting where things are more complicated or expensive than they should be is spotting a massive business opportunity.
And once that irresistible value is clear, a little urgency can seal the deal. Jonathan Field's yoga studio used a compelling, limited-time offer to secure commitment when their business was seasonally slow.
His Manhattan yoga studio typically saw a huge influx of new members in January, New Year's resolutions.
Of course.
But they needed steady cash flow in September, which is often a slow period. So they offered first-time members unlimited classes from September 1st through the end of the year for $180, a whopping 62% discount off the normal monthly rate.
That seems like they're undervaluing their product, which kind of contradicts the advice.
It seems that way, but it's strategic underpricing for commitment. By creating instant regency, the offer expires tomorrow, and securing a 4-month commitment in September, he locked in customers before the busy resolution period.
Ah, I see.
His strategy banked on the fact that if a person commits to 4 months of yoga, they are highly likely to just transfer to the full, regular monthly membership plan starting in January. He maximized the lifetime customer value, not just the initial transaction value.
That's truly genius.
It is.
Okay, let's pivot to pricing strategy to finish part 2. Because if you've proven your value, you absolutely must charge appropriately for it. We need to price based on perceived value, not on your time or your cost.
This is completely non-negotiable for low-cost startups. Do not underprice your service. The collective advice from these successful entrepreneurs is to charge at least $100 an hour or a comparable fixed rate for the benefit you provide, regardless of how quickly you provide it.
And the $50 locksmith perfectly illustrates why this is a psychological hurdle for both customers and service providers.
Yes, the locksmith paradox. The quick, comprehensive solution feeling too expensive.
Tell the story.
The author details how he felt really unsettled paying a locksmith $50 for literally 10 seconds of work because he was locked out of his apartment, and he realized he subconsciously wanted the locksmith to struggle longer, to put in some visible effort, just to justify the fee in his own mind.
So the client's internal cost-benefit analysis favors perceived time and effort over the actual value, which is instant stress relief. Why is that?
We're just conditioned to associate value with labor time. If we pay a lawyer for 5 hours, we feel we received 5 hours of value. But the locksmith wasn't selling time. He was selling the expertise required to solve a high-stress emergency instantly.
The true value was the immediate relief from the anxiety of being locked out.
Exactly. The entrepreneur needs to charge for the accumulated knowledge that allows the solution to be delivered in 10 seconds, not for the 10 seconds spent on the sidewalk.
And Gary Liff, the travel hacker, is the perfect example of valuing expertise and solving the high-value problem.
Gary charges a fixed rate of $250. And this rate does not vary if the complicated booking, let's say an intricate routing for a first-class international ticket, takes him 2 minutes because he knows some secret loophole, or 2 hours because he's wrestling with airline schedules.
It doesn't matter to the customer.
It doesn't. The client is paying for his specialized expertise in securing a $5,000 ticket for a fraction of the price. The cost is inextricably linked to the monetary and emotional benefit provided, not the time he spent at his keyboard.
Now that we've mastered the launch and the pricing, we need to talk about scaling and sustaining income without a massive investment. Part 3 starts with promotion, specifically what the sources call hustling.
And this is where we revisit that rather aggressive quote. Advertising is like sex. Only losers pay for it.
Right.
The promotion strategy endorsed by these low-cost entrepreneurs is entirely focused on relationship building and something called strategic giving.
In strategic giving, as is defined here, it has to be genuinely helpful without expecting any immediate payback. It's about building social capital, not executing some sneaky marketing tactic.
Precisely. If you are genuinely helpful, it builds immense trust and community, which pays dividends far greater than any billboard could. Look at John Moorfield, the architect.
The 5-cent architecture advice guy.
Yes, he set up a tiny, simple booth at a Seattle farmer's market and genuinely gave professional, valuable advice for a nickel.
A nickel for an architect's time is almost absurd, but the strategic value was immense.
It was. Because the service was genuine and the cost was negligible, the concept was just inherently viral. This genuine giving generated widespread, massive free media attention. CNN, NPR, the BBC, they all covered the novelty of this talented architect giving professional advice for 5 cents.
And that visibility brought him new, paying clients who already trusted him.
They appreciated his accessibility and his community focus. It was brilliant.
Megan Hunt, the dressmaker, used strategic giving in a slightly different way by investing in social influence.
She did. She secured tremendous influence by creating custom dresses for influential bloggers. That generated tons of free media exposure and professional photo shoots that she could then repurpose. And she understood that the post-sale experience matters most.
How so?
She would routinely upgrade a customer's shipping or include personalized, unexpected gifts in every box. She treated every package like it was a gift to her best friend. This created fervent brand loyalty and amazing word-of-mouth marketing.
This whole philosophy was put to the ultimate test in the author's own business experiment. He pitted $10,000 in paid advertising against just 10 hours of free, focused hustle. That's a powerful comparison.
It is. The $10,000 ad campaign, even though it was placed through carefully selected ads, so a mix of Google ads and some niche banner placements, it targeted an audience that was just too broad. It required too much effort from the customer. It was just broadcasting into the void.
And the 10 hours of hustle.
The 10 hours were spent on very targeted actions, writing guest posts for influential blogs that already had the ideal audience, recruiting joint ventures with non-competing businesses, and personally reaching out to journalist contacts he already had.
So it was relationship-based.
Entirely. This focus, specificity, and relationship building vastly outperformed the $10,000 spend because it delivered leveraged exposure to pre-qualified leads through trusted intermediaries. Hustle created specific opportunity, while the cash only created generic reach.
Scott Meyer's Nine Clouds consultancy in South Dakota echoed this strategic relationship building, focusing entirely on community.
His consultancy prioritized sharing information, teaching clients, and actively supporting the local business community rather than competing aggressively. That focus on value first and community second led to incredibly rapid growth.
What were the numbers?
They went from $45,000 in net income in the first 6 months to $180,000 in the second year. Building sincere relationships today always leads to new, high-quality opportunities tomorrow.
Next, let's address unconventional funding. Since these entrepreneurs avoid traditional debt, their rule of thumb must be strict. Spend only on things that have a direct, measurable relationship to building the brand and boosting sales.
Precisely. You avoid the types of debt associated with unproven ad campaigns or those unnecessary, highly customized website builds that don't actually generate any revenue. The successful startup studied avoided debt almost entirely, or they got highly creative when liquidity was required.
And nothing is more creative than securing a car loan for a business startup. Tell us the logistics and, well, the inherent risk of that approach taken by Emma Reynolds and Bruce Morton.
Emma and Bruce needed $17,000 to start their consultancy. But because their business was brand new, they were poor candidates for a traditional business loan.
The bank said no.
Of course. Bruce, however, was eligible for a personal auto loan, so he accepted the higher personal risk, secured a car loan for a non-existent car, and successfully invested the $17,000 into the business's launch.
That's a huge legal and personal risk to take on.
It is an extreme measure, and it highlights a degree of resourcefulness and commitment that traditional finance just completely overlooks. And crucially, they paid the loan back in just 10 months.
Wow.
They saw the short-term high interest rate as just a fee for speed and access. It demonstrated their commitment to the business's rapid profitability.
We also saw community investing as a low-cost way to raise substantial funds without relying on banks or venture capital.
Right. Kristen McNamara needed funding for her climbing gym. Instead of going to the bank, she approached her community and asked them to invest in the gym's future.
How did she structure that?
She structured the deal like a corporate bond. She offered high returns 3% above prime, which is similar to a high-yield 3-year certificate of deposit. This community fundraising successfully brought in $80,000.
And it created immediate community buy-in and a sense of ownership before the doors even open.
Exactly.
And finally, we have the importance of social capital acting as real financial capital. This is demonstrated by Naomi Dunford, founder of IttyBiz, who's approaching $1 million a year in revenue.
Naomi shows that a strong network is equivalent to liquid cash in a time of crisis. When she was traveling, her PayPal access was blocked due to security reasons. She needed $900 immediately to register for a fast-selling Crucial conference.
And she couldn't access her own money.
She couldn't. So she reached out to her highly engaged network in Austin, explained the problem, and 3 separate people immediately offered up their credit cards to help her pay the fee.
Wow.
That kind of trust, that social capital, that is an asset you simply cannot purchase with venture funding.
Moving on to growth. How do these entrepreneurs scale without becoming overwhelmed? Many choose what's called self-franchising, creating a second stream of income based on their existing knowledge and leveraging a hub-and-spoke model.
Self-franchising is essentially expanding your core business model to serve a second related professional audience using expertise you already possess. The goal is to maximize the value you can extract from the knowledge you've already gained while avoiding the capital expense of expanding geographically.
Natalie Lussier is the perfect example here.
Right.
She automated her first business, Raw Foods Witch, so it ran on 80% autopilot.
And that automation was absolutely key. It freed her up to launch a second, highly profitable business as a tech consultant.
How did she find that second audience?
She realized her original clients, who were mostly solo entrepreneurs starting businesses in wellness and food, were constantly struggling with tech inquiries. So she effectively franchised herself by serving that parallel audience with a new product consulting, which was based on the business system she had already built for her first company.
Brooke Thomas, the successful Rolfing practitioner, took a similar path by teaching her professional peers how to thrive in the business aspect of wellness.
Right. Brooke had successfully opened profitable Rolfing practices in multiple cities, and she realized that while other wellness providers were skilled in their craft, they struggled immensely with the non-clinical business side.
The marketing, pricing, client retention.
All of it. So she created Practice Abundance, a training program focused on non-MBA business advice specifically tailored to wellness providers. She was teaching other caregivers how to run their practices better using her own successful formula.
A core strategy for long-term self-franchising and sustainable growth is getting paid more than once, or implementing what they call continuity programs.
Recurring billing. Subscriptions, membership sites, or continuity programs, they produce significantly more stable income over time, and they encourage repeat purchases.
It's that reliable, predictable, monthly recurring revenue, or MRR.
Exactly. It allows small businesses to budget effectively, and it eliminates that terrifying feast or famine cycle that's so common in service businesses.
And we see this model applied everywhere, from, dog treat clubs to the author's travel hacking cartel. It's the ultimate goal of stability for the small startup.
Absolutely. The continuity model ensures that even if you choose not to expand horizontally, you maintain a strong, reliable baseline income.
And finally, when facing growth decisions, entrepreneurs must decide whether to stay small or go medium. They have to follow the Goldilocks principle. This acknowledges that maximizing revenue isn't always the goal.
Cherie Vard, a healthcare consultant, deliberately chose to not grow the business. She put a conscious cap on her revenue. She actively avoided the stress, the administrative burden, and the diminishing creativity she had witnessed in her father's larger firm.
So she prioritizes her quality of life.
Completely. She maintains a $50,000+ income while traveling indefinitely because that size allows her maximum flexibility and freedom.
Conversely, Tom Bin opted to go medium. He manages a factory with over 20 employees, which is a very different definition of freedom.
It is. But Tom Bin maintains his independence by strictly selling directly to consumers through their own channels. He declines all the large offers from big box stores.
Why?
By avoiding dependence on a single large buyer or distributor, they maintain complete control over their brand, their production schedule, and their cash flow. They can support all their employees without any external financial pressure. Both approaches succeed because they align the size of the business with the entrepreneur's ultimate goal for what freedom means to them.
This has been a complete and incredibly detailed blueprint for the unexpected entrepreneur. The pathway to the $100 startup is clear.
It is.
You find the powerful intersection of your skills, your passion, and a genuine market need. You prioritize rapid, low-cost execution, You value your expertise over your perceived time, and you promote through genuine, focused helpfulness.
That summarizes the strategic pathway perfectly. But we need to close by addressing what the sources identify as the single biggest non-strategic hurdle mentioned across all of these case studies.
The psychological barrier,
Yeah.
the fear of failure.
That's the one.
And it's interesting. We see that some of the greatest breakthroughs in clarity happened after major personal disasters forced these entrepreneurs out of their comfortable traditional work life.
They had nothing left to lose.
Exactly.
The sources highlight several extreme experiences that just fundamentally redefine the entrepreneur's perspective on risk. Take the case of designer John T. Unger. He experienced financial collapse, job loss, the physical destruction of his studio roof, just tremendous hardship.
But the personal story he shared that provided the most radical clarity was, well, it was a late-night, terrifying disagreement with a crazed cab driver.
Right. Who pulled him into a back room, held a gun to his head for 10 minutes, and threatened his life.
It's just terrifying to even imagine.
After that harrowing, prolonged experience, he was eventually released unharmed. He walked away trembling and sweating, and he looked up at the sky and just yelled, "I get it, I'm just so lucky."
Wow.
He realized in that moment that everything else was completely trivial. He said, "You don't really worry about the small things after that. All the fear and anxiety about business failure or taxes or slow cash flow, it all took on a completely different, insignificant meaning."
That is an astonishing story, and it makes perfect sense why the fear of a business failing feels so small after you've faced a genuine existential threat. And this is a powerful, final, provocative thought for you, the listener, especially if you're on the fence, hesitating to start.
One entrepreneur perfectly summed up this profound shift in perspective. He said, "I used to be afraid to fail. I wanted concrete numbers telling me that we weren't going to lose before I took the leap."
The analysis paralysis.
Exactly. But then he said, but if nobody was going to die, even in the absolute worst case scenario, if the worst that happens is I lose $125 and I have to go get another job, then what the hell was I so afraid of?
That puts it all in perspective.
It does. The freedom, the challenge, and the ability to work on something that fully engages your passion. It's worth the energy, the effort, and the sacrifice. Go make your move.